I never thought I'd find myself frozen in a restaurant booth, staring at a woman who had just spoken the exact words I'd been terrified to say myself. If you're a single parent trying to date again, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hit that like button and subscribe if you've ever felt that moment when your heart is racing, wondering if revealing your kids will change everything. The restaurant buzzed with evening chatter, but for Mark, the noise had faded to a distant hum. Across the table sat Eliza, her dark hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders, her smile genuine and warm. For the past hour and a half, they'd talked about everything, their jobs, favorite movies, embarrassing college stories, everything except the most important part of his life, his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. Mark had been rehearsing how to bring it up all evening. Dating as a single dad was a minefield of timing and judgment calls. Too soon, and you might scare someone off before they got to know you. Too late, and you risked accusations of hiding something fundamental. He'd been burned before, watched women's expressions shift from interest to polite distance when they realized his weekends and evenings weren't entirely his own. So, Eliza said, setting down her wine glass, I've been having a really nice time, and I think we should be honest with each other. She took a deep breath, her confidence suddenly faltering. You can leave if you want after I tell you this, and I'll understand. I'm a single mom. I have twin boys, they're 5. Mark's fork clattered against his plate. He stared at her, processing what she'd just said, then burst into unexpected laughter. Eliza's face flushed. I'm sorry, I don't see what's funny about. No, Mark said quickly, reaching across the table to touch her hand. I'm laughing because I've been sitting here for the past hour trying to figure out how to tell you that I have a 7-year-old daughter. The tension in Eliza's shoulders visibly released, and her laugh joined his, drawing curious glances from nearby tables. You're kidding, she said, shaking her head in disbelief. Sophie. She lives with me full-time, Mark explained. Her mother left when she was 2. Jacob and Ethan, Eliza offered in return. Their dad is in the military, stationed overseas. He sees them when he can, but it's been mostly just me for the past 3 years. The waiter approached with dessert menus, but they barely noticed him. Something had shifted between them, a wall neither had realized they'd built had suddenly disappeared. Mark had been a single father for 5 years now. After his wife Lisa had walked out, claiming she wasn't cut out for motherhood, he'd thrown himself into being both parents for Sophie. His life became a carefully orchestrated routine of school drop-offs, ballet lessons, bedtime stories, and working from home whenever possible. Dating had seemed impossible, until his sister had practically forced him to create a profile on the dating app where he'd met Eliza. How do you do it? Eliza asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. The single-parent thing, I mean. Some days I feel like I'm barely keeping my head above water. Mark smiled ruefully. Honestly? I have no idea. One day at a time, I guess. Sophie and I have our system. It's not perfect, but it works for us. The twins are in this dinosaur phase right now, Eliza said, her eyes lighting up. Everything is dinosaurs. They can pronounce Pachycephalosaurus perfectly but still can't say spaghetti without it sounding like a sneeze. Mark laughed. Sophie went through a princess phase, then a space phase. Now she's obsessed with marine biology. Our bathroom is covered in drawings of various species of sharks. As they shared stories about their children, Mark felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the comfort of talking to someone who truly understood. Not just the joys of parenthood, but the unique challenges of doing it alone, the guilt when work ran late, the exhaustion of being the only one to handle nightmares and sick days, the constant worry that you weren't enough. My parents help out when they can, Eliza was saying, but they live an hour away, so it's not as often as any of us would like. I'm lucky that my sister lives nearby, Mark admitted. She's Sophie's favorite person in the world, probably because she lets her eat ice cream for breakfast when she stays over. The restaurant had begun to empty around them, but neither noticed until the waiter discreetly brought their check. Mark insisted on paying, and Eliza didn't argue, but promised, "Next time is on me." Next time. The words hung between them, full of possibility. Outside, the early autumn air had a slight chill. Mark walked Eliza to her car, both of them slowing their pace, reluctant for the evening to end. "So," Mark said, stopping beside her sedan, "would it be okay if I called you tomorrow?" Eliza smiled. "I'd like that. The boys have soccer in the morning, but I'm free after lunch." There was a moment of awkward hesitation, the first date uncertainty of whether to hug, shake hands, or kiss. Mark leaned in and gently kissed her cheek. "Thank you for being honest," he said quietly. "It's been a long time since I've met someone who understands what this life is like." "Same here," Eliza replied. "It's nice not having to explain or apologize for having kids." As Mark drove home, he couldn't stop smiling. His phone buzzed with a text from his sister. "How was it? Disaster or success?" He typed back, "Better than I could have imagined." His sister was waiting up when he arrived home, curled up on his couch with a book. "Sophie went down without a fight," she reported. "Only made me check for monsters under the bed twice." "Thanks for watching her, Jen," Mark said, dropping his keys on the counter. "So?" Jennifer prompted, setting her book aside. "Are you going to tell me about this date, or do I have to drag it out of you?" Mark sank into the armchair across from her. "She has kids too. Twin boys." Jennifer's eyebrows shot up. "Well, that's convenient. No awkward, by the way, I come with a child conversation." "Actually, we both had that conversation ready to go," Mark laughed. "She beat me to it." "And you're seeing her again?" "Tomorrow, hopefully. Just to talk." Jennifer studied her brother's face. "You really like her, don't you?" "It's just one date," Mark cautioned, but he couldn't hide his smile. "One good date is more than you've had in years," Jennifer pointed out. "I'm happy for you, Mark. You deserve this." After Jennifer left, Mark quietly opened Sophie's door. His daughter was fast asleep, her stuffed shark clutched tightly against her chest, dark curls splayed across her pillow. He gently tucked the blanket around her shoulders and placed a soft kiss on her forehead. "Love you, kiddo," he whispered. The next morning, Sophie bombarded him with questions over breakfast. "Did you have fun? Was she nice? Is she pretty? Are you going to see her again? Can I meet her?" Mark laughed, setting a plate of pancakes in front of her. "Yes, yes, 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 and maybe someday, if things go well." "Does she like sharks?" Sophie asked seriously, drowning her pancakes in syrup. "I don't know yet, but I'll be sure to ask," Mark promised. Later that day, after Sophie had gone to her friend's house for a play date, Mark called Eliza. They talked for nearly 2 hours, the conversation flowing easily from parenting challenges to their own childhoods, their dreams and disappointments. "The boys have been asking about you," Eliza admitted. "Apparently, I was smiling too much when I got home last night." "Sophie interrogated me over breakfast," Mark replied. "She wants to know if you like sharks." Eliza laughed. "I don't have any strong opinions on sharks, but I'm willing to learn." They arranged to meet again the following weekend, a daytime coffee date that would fit around their parenting schedules. Mark found himself looking forward to it with an excitement he hadn't felt in years. The coffee date led to a lunch date, which led to family outings, first to the park, then the zoo, then a children's museum. Sophie was shy around the twins at first, but their boundless energy and enthusiasm soon won her over. Before long, she was teaching them about different shark species and helping them build elaborate dinosaur habitats out of couch cushions and blankets. Watching their children play together, Mark and Eliza found moments to talk, to learn each other's stories. Eliza had been married to her high school sweetheart, who had joined the military right after graduation. The long deployments and distance had slowly eroded their relationship until they'd both agreed to end it, though he remained involved with the twins when he could be. It wasn't dramatic, Eliza explained one evening as they sat on her back porch, watching the children chase fireflies in the yard. We just grew in different directions. Sometimes I think that's harder than having a clear villain in the story. Mark nodded, understanding completely. Lisa always said she wanted kids, but when Sophie actually arrived, she couldn't handle it. The crying, the constant needs, the lack of sleep, she just checked out. Started staying out late, taking business trips that got longer and longer. Then one day she said she couldn't do it anymore and left. That must have been devastating, Eliza said softly. It was, Mark admitted. Not just for me, but knowing what Sophie would grow up without. But honestly, we're better off. Sophie deserves someone who wants to be her parent, not someone who resents her existence. As autumn turned to winter, their relationship deepened. They developed a rhythm, alternating whose house they gathered at for movie nights or Sunday dinners. The children formed their own bonds, Sophie taking on a protective big sister role with the twins, who adored her in return. There were challenges, of course. The first time Sophie had a meltdown in front of Eliza, Mark had tensed, waiting for judgment. Instead, Eliza had calmly helped him navigate the situation, then later shared stories of the twins' most spectacular tantrums. Parenting is messy, she'd said simply. Anyone who pretends otherwise is lying. The twins tested boundaries with Mark, seeing how far they could push this new adult in their lives. But he met their challenges with patience and consistency, earning their respect and eventually their affection. By spring, Mark knew he was in love with Eliza. He loved her quick wit and her compassion, the way she managed to run her graphic design business from home while still being present for her boys. He loved how she never made him feel inadequate on the days when parenting overwhelmed him, how she understood his priorities without explanation. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, they sat together on Mark's couch, Eliza's head resting on his shoulder as they talked about the future. I never thought I'd find this again, Mark confessed, his fingers intertwined with hers. Someone who gets it, all of it. The good days and the impossible ones. I know, Eliza said softly. Dating as a single parent is like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. You never know if you're making the right moves. Are we? Mark asked, suddenly serious. Making the right moves? Eliza shifted to look at him. What do you mean? The kids, Mark said. They're getting attached. We're getting attached. If this doesn't work out. It would hurt, Eliza finished for him. All of us. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of responsibility heavy between them. I think, Eliza said carefully, that nothing in life comes with guarantees. We can only do our best with the information we have now. And what information is that? Mark asked. Eliza smiled, touching his face gently. That I love you. That the boys love Sophie, and from what I can tell, she loves them too. That we make sense together, as a family. I love you too, Mark said, the words coming easily. And I think you're right. We do make sense together. The next morning, Sophie found them making breakfast together in the kitchen, moving around each other with comfortable familiarity. Are you guys going to get married? She asked bluntly, climbing onto a stool at the counter. Mark nearly dropped the spatula he was holding. What makes you ask that, kiddo? Sophie shrugged. Mia's mom and stepdad got married, and now they live together all the time. It would be cool if Eliza and the boys lived with us all the time. Mark and Eliza exchanged glances, both trying not to laugh at Sophie's matter-of-fact assessment. Well, Mark said carefully, adults usually take some time to figure these things out. How much time? Sophie pressed. Because Jacob said he wants to bring his dinosaurs over forever, not just sometimes. We'll see, Eliza said diplomatically, setting a plate of eggs in front of Sophie. For now, how about we focus on our plans for today? Later, when Sophie was engrossed in a TV show, Mark pulled Eliza aside. I'm sorry about that, he said. Kids and their timing, right? Eliza smiled. It's okay. It's actually been on my mind too. Marriage? Mark asked, surprised. The future, Eliza clarified. What we're building here. It feels real and important. Mark nodded, relief washing over him. It does to me too. They didn't rush into anything. Instead, they continued building their relationship day by day, learning to parent together, to support each other through work stress and childhood illnesses, school projects and family holidays. A year after their first date, Mark proposed during a family camping trip. He'd planned to wait until the children were asleep, but in the glow of the campfire, with Sophie and the twins roasting marshmallows and giggling together, he couldn't wait any longer. Eliza, he said, taking her hand as the children looked on curiously. This past year has been the happiest of my life. You and the boys have brought so much joy to Sophie and me. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? The twins erupted in cheers before Eliza could even answer, and Sophie jumped up and down, sticky marshmallow fingers clapping. Yes, Eliza said, tears shining in her eyes. Yes, absolutely yes. They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony with the children as their attendants. Sophie proudly walked Eliza down the aisle, while the twins carried the rings, arguing in whispers about whose pillow was more important. At the reception, Mark's sister Jennifer gave a toast that left few dry eyes in the room. When Mark became a single dad, I watched him pour everything he had into being there for Sophie. He didn't have time to feel sorry for himself, he was too busy making sure his daughter knew she was loved and secure. I worried that he'd never find someone who understood what that kind of love and sacrifice means. And then he met Eliza, who had been walking the same path. Today isn't just the union of two people, it's the creation of a family that understands that love isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Later, as they danced together for the first time as husband and wife, Eliza leaned her head against Mark's shoulder. Remember our first date? She asked. When I told you that you could leave because I was a single mom? Mark smiled, holding her closer. I remember thinking it was the most perfect thing you could have said. Who would have thought that the thing we were both so afraid to admit would be the very thing that brought us together? As they swayed to the music, Mark caught sight of their children sitting together at a table, Sophie helping the twins fold their napkins into boats. They were no longer just his daughter or her sons, they were their children, a family forged not by blood but by choice and love. Sometimes, Mark said softly, the things we think might push people away are actually the things that help us find exactly where we belong. Eliza looked up at him, her eyes filled with happiness. I'm glad you didn't leave that night. I'm glad you didn't either, Mark replied. And I'm never going anywhere. As the evening wound down, the newly formed family gathered for a photo, Mark and Eliza in the center, surrounded by their children, all 5 of them beaming with joy. It wasn't the life either of them had planned, but it was better than anything they could have imagined. And that's how our story began, Mark would tell people years later. With 2 single parents brave enough to be honest, and lucky enough to find each other. If you've enjoyed this story of finding love when you least expect it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us second chances are always possible. Sometimes the very